Phthalo Blue, not Deo, Phthalo, and Phthalo Green. No, Phthalo, Phthalo. Welcome to the Mind of Watercolor, everybody. We're going to look at Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green today. We're just going to do a little exploration of the color. Now, these are kind of difficult colors to use because they're so intense, and they kind of are not real natural looking, I guess. But I thought it was interesting because I saw an artist, and don't worry, there's not going to be a rant this time, but I saw an artist giving a lecture saying that nobody uses Phthalos. Huh? Yeah, this artist told a student nobody uses Phthalos. And I thought, wait a minute, I use Phthalos. Let me see how rare it is, especially among professionals. In about 20 minutes, I located at least a half a dozen top professionals that have Phthalo, either Phthalo Blue or Phthalo Green or both on their palette. No rant, nothing against that artist. Apparently they don't come in contact with too many people that do, but I don't want you to be afraid of them because they are lovely colors and they will do lovely things. Really what I want to show you is how to explore these colors, and using that model how to explore any colors. Hey buddy, how are you today? I know it's spelled really weird, isn't it? Phthalo. The full word is like phthalocyanine. No, I'm not going to pronounce it Phthalo. Not going to do it. Anyway, let's take a look at these colors and see some of the things you can do with them. Alright, so today we're going to be looking at Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green. Now there are other Phthalo colors and pigments like Phthalo Turquoise. Usually they're just probably mixes of the two. And one sort of myth about Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green is that they're dyes. They're not actual pigments and they have less than good light fastness. This is actually not true. Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green have excellent light fastness. Top rating usually in artist quality, and it is a compound, it is a pigment. Now there are a lot of dyes made from these two, where a dye is just where they take pigment and dissolve it through different ways, suspend it and dissolve it, but it is a pigment and it is light fast. So I just wanted to dispel those myths right off the bat. Now, as I mentioned in my intro, this is not a color that artists don't use. What you need to know is how to use it, and it's a difficult color to use because of its intensity. Its intensity kind of gives it a false or almost a neon fluorescent look. It's very, very powerful. So let's take a look at Phthalo Blue first. By the way, I know some of you will ask, what is this card and what am I painting on? This is the Hahnemühle Cezanne 140-pound cold press. These are just sample cards that they sent that I'm using. I thought it'd be good for testing this out. So let's move to Phthalo Green. Again, a very intense sort of permanent green, Viridian. As a matter of fact, I think Viridian and some brands actually is Phthalo Green. I guess another description would be sort of an emerald green. Now, using these colors by themselves is kind of difficult and kind of false looking, and I think that's the problem. Somebody is painting fast and they're used to using convenience colors that approximate what they want to paint right out of the palette, then they're not going to go to these. But if you know how to use them, how to neutralize them, which is what we're going to talk about first, how to mix them with other colors, you can get some just gorgeous colors with this. Now, another thing that I want you to keep in mind, if you have questions or anything about any colors in your palette, this exercise is a great way to go about it. And I'm going to show you several steps of what you can do. Now, a lot of times what's typical is that people will make these matrices, you know, these kind of charts, and that's fine if you want to do that. If that's helpful to you, by all means do, you know, like a grid chart matrix. It's just not the way I prefer to do it. I go about it a little more organically. So whatever version helps you in testing colors, do it, but I'm just going to show you my version. Now first let's talk about neutralizing. What I like to do when I'm neutralizing a color is first find its actual complement. Phthalo blue is a blue with a slightly green bias. So it's sort of a blue green. So you're going to be in the orange to red category. So either something like this pyrrole orange or this pyrrole red here. I could already see some gray. Let's start with the pyrrole red. Now this is probably too red, and so you're probably going to get a little bit more of almost a violet. I don't know, that's pretty neutral, but still looks kind of bluish. So it may not be orange enough. Apparently there's enough blue in there. But that's still, that's a beautiful color right there. You see what I mean? Let's go back to the kind of, I think it's quinacridone red, yeah. Yeah, there's a pretty grade violet. So I'm getting really pretty sort of purple, grade violet colors. It tells me I'm not far enough along on the orange scale. So let's bring some orange over here. If I go too far on the orange, I'll get probably more of a brown. I'm too far along on the yellow, so let's go back and add a little red to that. My goal, although you don't necessarily have to mix this way, my goal is trying to see what gives me pretty unbiased neutral color. Okay, that's green. In reality, you know, you wouldn't spend much time trying to mix a perfect neutral. Again, I'm just trying to find its nearest complement so that when you're painting, you'll already know where to go. Okay, finally hit it. I think right here I have the most neutral color. So it's right in between those two oranges. Now, in case there are some of you beginners out there that are just scratching your head and you're saying, you're totally lost, you have no idea what I did there in terms of finding the complement. First of all, I have a video on complements, and I'll put the link so you'll see it up there. What I'm dealing with is the color wheel. And I have my palette laid out in a color wheel. We usually try to do that with neutrals over here. The only exception is probably this brown. That should probably be over here with the reds. I have it in color wheel. Now it's not a wheel, so I can't go across from it, and I don't have it ranged in complements across from each other. But I have it going from warm to cool colors. But if you look at an actual color wheel, we can look at what I just did here. So I would place Phthalo Blue a little bit in between this blue and blue-green. Right about here. It's right about there. If you go across, you can see exactly what I ended up finding, and I probably would have saved myself time if I'd looked at this color wheel. I'm landing right across the red, orange, and orange spectrum, so that's why I'm right in here. And that gave me my most neutral color. Okay, so now I know something. When I'm painting along, you know, I can be using Phthalo Blue coming into its complement, graying it out, and look at that pretty little wash I just got with Phthalo Blue graduating into some neutrals. Knowledge is power, my minders. Knowledge is power. If you don't spend time doing some of this with your colors, you'll never have the knowledge you need while you're painting. Now let's do the same thing with the green, the Phthalo Green. This time I'm going to save a little time by using this. Phthalo Green is almost exactly here, maybe not quite that yellow. So we're going to place it in between. And we're going to end up coming back here to either this red or this red orange. So let me clean up my palette a little bit. Alright, so let's pull the Phthalo Green back out here. Now let's go straight for the quinacridone red, because I have a feeling that's going to be probably the most neutral. Maybe I'll add just a touch of pyrrole orange or pyrrole scarlet. I can't remember what that is. That's still a little green, but it's nicely neutralized green. That's still pretty beautiful. A little more of that. That's pretty gray right there. Pretty neutral. So I know right where I'm sitting. Now, there's something I haven't talked about much on this channel with colors, but I do use neutral tint from time to time. And I don't know why this hasn't come up, but it should have. I have my 3 neutrals here that I use very often. This is sepia, and sepia makes a pretty good neutralizer for a lot of colors. It's a very dull, umberish, dark brown. Over here is Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray is a nice blue-gray. We use it very frequently. But right in between the two is neutral tint. Now, if you just don't want to mess with complements, and your only task is to make a duller, grayer version of the color you're using, you want to neutralize it some, the neutral tint is your color. It's just the easiest way to do it. I like using complements when I can because I'm usually shifting the color one way or the other. Neutral tint won't give you any shift. It'll just make it more neutral. Really nice, sort of a steely turquoise, depending on how much you gray it. Okay, so that's neutralizing. They're easy to neutralize. Maybe a lot easier than you think. Find the complement so that you can instantly kind of shift them one way or another when you're painting. Try out some neutral tint if you want, and just have at it. By the way, the Phthalos are high staining, which means that it will be impossible to completely lift them out of your paper. The staining color is just a color with finer pigments, so it gets deeper into the paper, basically, the nap of the paper. Now here's something that's fun to do, and I do this with a lot of colors, is what I call a trip around the wheel, or a trip around the palette, or a trip around the color wheel. Now I'm not going to go into every color and demonstrate that, because I mean, for instance, you get into these greens, they're all going to be very similar. Let's just go to Azo Green. Azo Green is one of my 8 favorites, if you've seen that video. Let's add a little Phthalo Blue. Ooh. Let's go down, let's just jump down here to Indian Yellow. And I'm not taking great care to uncontaminate my colors first. Add some Phthalo Blue to that. Nice, almost an olive. I put less. Very ochre. This is transparent orange oxide. I am curious what that will do. This is like taking, you've seen transparent red iron oxide, which is one of my favorites. This is just an oranger version of that. Let's add a little, whoops, keep going the wrong one. Let's add a little Phthalo Blue to that, and that's pretty. It's greenish. We already know what the reds do, or the orange. It kind of neutralizes it. Let's jump over here to, this is quinacridone violet. I didn't paint the violet first like I did those, but I'll paint it over here. I mean, look at these beautiful subtle hues. Who would ever say that no one uses Phthalos? I don't get it. Okay, but I promised not to turn this into a rant. Let's go down here to sepia. Sepia can make some colors muddy if you're not careful. It's a nice gray brownish, I don't know what you'd call it. I like that though. That's really pretty cool. And if I add more Phthalo, look how interestingly sepia neutralizes that. I always like to kind of paint these out into strips and see what the range is. It's like you got pretty neutral over here, neutral gray, to just some interesting tints in between. A lot of times you can see it better after it dries. Let's take Phthalo, and I've already shown you neutral tint. Let's see what happens when you add some Payne's Gray. And Payne's Gray is already bluish, so you shouldn't see much difference in the blue. It should just get darker, which it does. So there's Phthalo Blue with some Payne's Gray added. Looks very similar to the one that I did with neutral tint, but I think it's a little bluer. I'm just going to hit a couple with the green, because a lot of this is you're gonna get some similarities. But it's something you should try, you know, taking a trip around the palette. And if you're pretty sure you know what it's going to do, then you don't have to do it. But if you want to create a swatch card or something, then it's Azo Yellow. No surprises there, just makes a more brilliant yellow-green. Let's come down here to this transparent orange oxide. That's pretty cool. It's almost sap greenish right there. And what's great to know about what these colors produce is rarely when you paint Do you just paint a color and say, that's the color, I'm going to paint that color? Usually what you're doing is you're going along and you're painting gradations of color. You know, like it may go from that color to this, or it may go from that color to something more neutral. Colors mix and mingle. So it's helpful to know how to alter the colors and shift them one way or another, rather than, you're not doing paint by number, basically. So what happens with Phthalo Green, and let's go real purple. Let's go, this is Cobalt Violet. Ooh. And then let's just kind of graduate it to the Phthalo Green. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. We had Payne's Gray to the Phthalo Green. Just a darker, slightly bluer mix. Not unexpected. What about Sepia? Nice. Almost an evergreen or a hunter green. A little bit olive. Discovery, folks. That's what it's all about. Don't settle for recipes from books. Figure it out yourself. And the reason that's valuable is because it sticks with you. Take some time to play with one color and see what it'll do. You know, if you don't know what will happen when you combine two colors, just try it. Let's get some pure Phthalo Green here. Phthalo Blue. Let's get a nice big swatch of that. So basically the exercise here is similar to what you did here, or what I did here, is just see how different colors glaze over these. Glazing is a visual form of mixing, so keep that in mind. It's a way of building layers, and it definitely alters the underlying color just as much as mixing does. Some of the same things happen as with mixing, and you get neutralizing, you get different color combinations. But it's a great way, if you say you've put down a really brilliant Phthalo Green in its purest form, and you can go ahead and you can neutralize that just by painting a complement over the top, and you gray it down. Alright, so I hope that makes you a little braver and a little less intimidated by using Phthalo Green or Phthalo Blue. Just beautiful colors. Can really do some beautiful things with it, and I hope you'll try it. And just like me, you don't have to do complicated matrices if you don't want to. I just like to play. I just like to get out sample sheets and play and show myself what I can do with these colors. So you guys get to it also. Thanks everyone. Appreciate you watching. Thanks for liking and thumbs upping and all that good stuff. Thank you so much, patrons. Can't say enough about you. You guys are such an encouragement to me. Thank you for sponsoring this channel, and we will see everybody in the next video.